Hey, look,
Bronny James.
With the 55th pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Bronny James.
Has caused.
I don't want to hear these charges, people talking about nepotism.
No,
the NBA is full of nepotism.
Full of it.
The ownership level, front offices, coaching. Yep. I don't want to hear it all of a sudden because of Bronny James's father plays for the Lakers. Right. It is rampant.
Some serious discussion.
I understand how the game is played. 99.9% of the time, none of those people look like us, Perk. And I think when I saw a lot of this chatter online from people that look like us, I'm like, hold on, don't we need more instances of black nepotism?
From many in the media.
let me say this. We have to stop. We have to stop. As the media and everybody else shining the light on Bronny, because it's other players that are deserve our attention, right? The lottery guys, the guys that are actually that are going to get drafted in the first round. Like, we're talking about a guy, a young man, that's possibly going to go late second round or not getting drafted at all. I've never, in my 4 years of working here, I've never sat on the table where we're talking about a second round pick.
And there's plenty more, like Bomani Jones of The Right Time, who despised what he saw and wrote, still can't believe either LeBron thinks this is a good idea and it's embarrassing more people in my profession won't call this clown blank that it is. But here we are. He would even see the Jay Williams video posted by Awful Announcing and quote tweeted it, writing, "No, we don't. I can't believe how many people think this unprincipled nonsense is defensible. Saying this on television is pathetic." And let me be clear. What this has done, in my opinion, has brought out vintage Bomani on Twitter, because he is replying, vehemently defending his position, and he should. When asked, you got that same energy for Giannis, as in with his brother Thanasis Antetokounmpo? He replied, "Are you saying it'll be old for Bronny to be Thanasis's West? An internet laughingstock? This is his daddy's ego run amok, and I can't see how it's good for the young man. But hey, it's a cute headline, right? Excuse me. To center this back.
This is LeBron James' son, and that is a legitimate storyline that one of the greatest of all times has a son trying to play in the NBA at the same time.
And you have to give Bronny credit.
Because this was Kendrick Perkins' take on ESPN, which genuinely seems split amongst the network's on-air talent. Now, mainly with what Adrian Wojnarowski said.
I don't want to hear these charges, people talking about nepotism. No, the NBA is full of nepotism.
He's right. But you know what? I will go further, because it is not just one sport. It is almost every sport. Let's start with the billionaires. The Dallas Cowboys are full, and I mean full, of nepotism. Take a look at the executives. Talking about keeping it up with the Joneses, huh? What about the Spanos family with the Los Angeles Chargers? We're going to call that one out too? Probably should. Bill Belichick's son Steve was a defensive assistant with the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick, the head coach. Go figure. Tillman Fertitta and his family. Look, Tillman owns the Houston Rockets. It's obviously not where he made his money. He made his money and then bought the Houston Rockets. But when it comes to his family business, nepotism runs amok there as well. The Colangelos? Let's not get started on that. Mike Shanahan, the head coach of the, we'll say, Washington football team, he hired his son Kyle to be offensive coordinator. Kyle has proven to be a very good coach. But let's not connect the dots here and say, well, Kyle was going to get it all along. It helps to have a foot in the door. A lot of Tishes and Maras in the New York Giants front office, don't you think? I mean, look at this list. Nepotism is there as well. Chris Collinsworth, former NFL player, current color analyst for NBC. I believe he launched Pro Football Focus as well. His son Jack was on those same broadcasts. He was on the field with what's my man's name? Rodney Harrison. He also had a very important job with NBC. He was to do and was tasked with Notre Dame football coverage. Massive. It's a huge contract that the Peacock Network has. Probably helped that Chris is your dad. Jim and Jason Garrett. Do we say more? Kirk Ferentz, who loves average football, would hire his son Brian, who was one of the worst offensive coordinators in college football during his tenure. Couldn't score. Boring. I can't swear. Boring offense. Brian was eventually fired. Don't get me started on a story that we covered. Britt Reed. Scum. Terrible. He was a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. Not as a player, of course. Because of his father, Andy. Very successful. Multiple Super Bowls. How do you think Britt got the job? I mean, in politics, don't even get me started. But, a tweeter brought it up, and I reiterate, I do believe that the edits of Thanasis on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram are hilarious. I think he probably has a very bubbly personality because of what we've seen on the bench and his celebrations. But let's call a spade a spade. He is in that position because of one reason. There's the coaches as well. Rick Adelman, longtime NBA coach. His son, Dave, is also a head coach. And that works. My Chicago Bulls, head coached by Billy Donovan. His son is the head coach of the Windy City Bulls. Likely aided that process. Steve Kerr's son, whose name is Nick, same exact story. Chris Sims, the son of Phil Sims. Phil, a former quarterback in the National Football League, for a long time was Jim Nance's partner in the broadcast booth, calling games for the NFL and CBS. And then when his time ran out, he moved to the studio role shift. His son Chris was a good, not great quarterback at Texas. Played in the NFL. There is a vintage clip, classic clip, of Chris not getting a play call correctly when he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the head coach was John Gruden. It's comical. He would retire and immediately get a really good gig with Bleacher Report, working alongside the great Adam Lefkoe. And then after that, he moved to NBC. Take that as you will. The Pistons, RIP to Jerry West, they would hire his son. Probably helps to have a leg up. Mike Dunleavy Jr., the son of former longtime NBA coach Mike Dunleavy Sr., general manager of your Golden State Warriors. Probably shouldn't forget about Chris Smith as well with the New York Knicks. The Defectors' Kalen Collar put in a really good piece that we covered previously for the NFL. The league averages 3.4 coaches per team who are related to a current or former NFL coach. And the percentage of coaches at the supervisory levels, the ones with hiring power, is even higher. 11 of 32 head coaches, upon this article being published, are related to a current or former NFL coach. There are 24 coordinators who are related to current or former coaches, almost a full quarter. Collar also would write, nepotism isn't exclusively for white people, as several white people interviewed for the story were quick to point out to me. That's funny. But the percentage of family hires is overwhelmingly white, 78.3%. That is large. Coaching is overwhelmingly white. 75% of all NFL coaches are white, according to the league's 2021 data. Now, to bring it back to the Lakers, Bomani Jones would add, okay, but what's the response to people who do criticize white nepotism? And where is this world where nepotism isn't criticized? This story is being covered with a staggering dishonesty. Never thought nepotism is bad and this probably doesn't help Bronny would be hot takes. And when BSO would ask Bomani Jones, I'm just curious, Why you don't think we should have more black nepotism? I'm always interested in your thoughts. I'm finding it hard to find any downside in it. Jones would reply, nepotism by definition is negative. A market inefficiency, never a good thing. Black people engaging in it won't level anything. It's just corruption by a different group. At some point, people gotta stand on some principle somewhere. The fact I have to explain this saddens me. So what I found was there are some positives, and it seems some, if not more, negatives. My stance, I'll save it for the end, but Ronald E. Riggio, PhD, would put in his piece for psychology.com, nepotism can have advantages and disadvantages. For example, hiring relatives is easy and can lead to greater trust, what we call swift trust, if the relations get along and share a common purpose. Where nepotism becomes problematic is when non-relative employees feel that there is unfair favoritism, and when relatives are hired over more competent non-relatives. Unfortunately, there has been very little research on nepotism in the workplace. What we are finding, however, is that people tend to believe that there is favoritism whenever a relative is hired, regardless of whether they tolerate nepotism or not. Even when a relative is the most qualified person for the job, coworkers tend to believe that it was their family relationship rather than their qualifications that got the person the job. See, that's a problem. It's a problem, and we know it's a problem. Because if we know, the most obvious example is political families, that they get to be advisors or they get to be on boards because of their name and the connections they have, family connections they have, that leads to greater salaries. And there are many who are not only qualified, but probably overqualified for those same roles. That's a huge issue. And what Bomani is trying, I'll save it for the end. Hang on. I'll save it for the end. Max J. Krupnick would write for Harvard Mag. Social connections have an astonishing impact on economic mobility. Before turning 30, nearly 1/3 of Americans will work at the same firm as a parent. In those jobs, these young adults earn almost 20% more than they otherwise would. And due to gender sorting, the tendency of men to work in higher paying professions than women, and existing wage gaps, white men from high income families benefit from nepotism far more than poorer people, women, and minorities do. So I think this is the point that Bomani is trying to hit on, which is it shouldn't be about white nepotism or black nepotism. It should be, we are going to hire who we believe will help our company the most. The issue is, and Mark Cuban put this out on Twitter, is that DEI practices have greatly benefited his company and companies that he knows of. Because hiring the same people over and over again could lead to stagnation. There needs to be room for difference. There needs to be room for creativity. And obviously, in business, especially in this country, all that they care about are a few things. Number one, making money. Number two, finding a way, depending on the company, to have looser laws to benefit them. If that means that a company will hire a politician's son or daughter or cousin or what have you to reach said politician, they'll do it in a heartbeat. There are some benefits, which is you know who you're hiring, you understand each other, and there is that quality of a relationship. The problem is when people get in those positions, it can lead to the nepotism hindering the business overall. And in turn, swaying away others from wanting to join that company because they have seen the writing on the wall with how they operate, and they know that they will not have a fair and equal chance. Matthew Steger, who is Harvard's Economic Mobility Research and Policy Institute, a member of, found that people are 200 times more likely to work for a parent's firm compared to similar companies in the same geographic area. That difference cannot be explained by inherent skills or similar positions. According to Matthew Steger, the tendency to work for a parent's firm is explained by the use of social connections. They'd also write, nepotistic hires are not inherently bad. In fact, employees who work at a parent's firm stay longer than average. But these hiring patterns have negative consequences for productivity, diversity of representation, and equality of opportunity. I suppose I end with this. I think Bomani is hitting the nail on the head here. And I do believe that there, as we have seen so many times in media, the connections that some have to a professional player or their team will lead to a small scope instead of a full and transparent analysis of the events that take place. I know many can probably answer this question. If that were your family member, would you help them out? It's a little different, obviously, with professional sports and the Lakers, because for a second-round pick at 55, I get the argument that you're just taking a flyer on somebody anyways. But my question is, what sort of precedent does it set? And do you want professional sports to be that way long term? Leave a comment down below. I'll see you there.